everyone, it's Kelly Leger here and
Amber Buto.
And we are coming from For the One Studio, Studio One, with our guest today, Ozeal Debastos.
That's right.
And we are going to have some fun.
Yes. Yes, I'm glad you said that because I am trying to refrain from my just uncontrollable laughter. That's this so fun about our sets,
so
right?
normal,
Like we have so much
normal.
fun here that it's so contagious. It's contagious. And
We have to stop ourselves from laughing to actually start the podcast.
yes.
Because there's so much fun going on. Fun zone.
Yes.
Fun zone, fun vibes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're glad you get to have fun with us here today. You know, you bring such great energy, Ozeal. You always have from the day I met you. You've had such great energy and positivity and really all the things that you do. You know, you are the president of Pod Houston. Yeah.
Presidente.
Somebody told me recently that you're the podfather of Houston. I was like, oh, calm down. Stop it. Now you're going to call me the president.
The
I mean, you just upped it.
Yeah.
love
There you
it.
are. There you are. Yeah. And, you know, the what you're trying to foster there and everything you've done there has been so great. It's linked up with our hearts. It's how we've kind of fostered a relationship, us holding, you know, the event we had here for you that was so great, Pod Houston and Pod Fest collaborating together with the studio. Great event. You did fantastic. Aligned so many great people together to come here and learn, grow, connect, all of that. So super excited to hear your story today.
Yeah.
You're going to take us on a
I'm
journey
excited to be here. Absolutely.
on
Let's go
Ozeal's
back.
journey. Yeah. So take us back. Throw us back to little Ozeal.
man.
Where did it all start?
Young, where did it all start?
Yeah.
Well, definitely, I am a loud dreamer. I was a closet performer, meaning that I was a kid that always wanted to be on stage. Being inspired, watching Michael Jackson and Prince, and just wanting to be on stage. And I remember vividly whenever my cousins, they would visit every other weekend. And I would get them together. I'm like, we're going to form a band and we're going to perform. We're going to go to the attic and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to coordinate this. And I'm the singer, of course.
Sure.
And you're the drummer. And, you know, so I would do that. It was so much fun. And we would just play, you know, back the cassette and just wanting to perform, being on stage. And then from there, I fell in love with breakdancing. I breakdancing became, I was one of those guys. B-boy, there you go. You know. So I was, in the middle of the streets performing. And that's kind of like fell in love with dance.
Wow.
Fun.
And my family would come over. And again, I would always perform for family, but it took me a while for me to kind of get out of my comfort zone and perform for other people.
I could see you doing the windmill. I could see those.
Oh, no.
Killer windmill. That was my thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
The
Those
fact
were the
that you
days.
could nail that, Kelly, is
Any breakdance? Yeah?
You know, we're telling our ages here. We know.
Yeah.
What's up?
Breaking,
Break
beat
your
street.
jacket. You got
Boombox.
shoes and- Yeah.
What was your favorite move?
Oh, I thought you were looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm like, well. You know,
thought I did.
whatever.
Maybe that's my form of breakdancing.
You remember those sunglasses that had like the little leather patch on the side?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh. Yeah.
Stop it. Stop it. We were cool.
That was a cool era. That
It
was a
was.
cool era.
I had my white capers with my orange
Oh man,
shoelaces.
those are the days.
Come on.
Boombox, and I mean, it's
Oh,
all about just the
boombox, for
fashion
sure.
and just trying to perform and
I
impress
love
people.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you did that.
Yeah.
I remember buying like some VHS tape on like a commercial I saw. I was like, I need that. It was a VHS tape on how to breakdance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was the beginning. And I never did that.
And the windmill was always the hardest breakdance move to learn.
Let's be real.
Yeah, it was
Let's be real. You tried that, and then you were like, "I'm not going to do this."
I don't even know.
Ozeal tried it and mastered it. It was like, I think I'm going to go out and do this in front of people.
Yeah.
You were cool. I was not cool.
Yeah.
No, you're in it, man. You're in the mix. No, and so that's where it started, man. I was really passionate about breakdancing. And I would do that. And then, of course, breakdancing kind of had this reemergence of popularity like in the 90s.
True.
Remember, that was like 95, 96. So I started getting involved in the breakdance community. And as a matter of fact, remember, I'm going to date myself again, the AOL chat days where
Yes.
you would chat.
Yep.
So I remember building relationships, building community on AOL chats with B-boys, breakdancers from all over the world. I was talking to breakdancers from Japan and Germany. And for some, I mean, I would organize them and we would, get together. And then when there was like big, breakdance events, I would meet them and do like little meetups for breakdancers.
Oh,
And, and from all
great.
over the world. We didn't understand the language, but we were just there because we had this common passion for this creative thing called breakdancing.
Yeah.
So that's where,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so from
Fun.
breakdancing world to where to? Where did it take you to?
So I was going to college and I was kind of clueless of what I wanted to do in college, right? Like many creatives, kind of like we're in the mix trying to figure things out. And then my father was a musician. So he played all the instruments.
Wow.
And I remember watching him perform, rehearse, and I fell in love with art, with music.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I wanted to be a performer. And then I was like, I kind of want to learn an instrument. I want to get on stage and sing. So I was going to college, and at that time I was in a band. And I was just like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to go ahead and just skip out of college and pursue this music thing. So I quit college to pursue a career in music, and was involved in a band. And I just fell in love again, with performing, getting on stage. And it took me a while for me to get there because my confidence level wasn't quite there. And it was actually in college when I was taking a public speaking class, and I would have anxiety, and we all had to give this presentation, right?
Yep.
And to pass this big exam. Well, I kept on postponing my presentation. I was just like, I don't want to go on. I was doing the sick days, and I just want to postpone it.
Because you're nervous.
I was nervous.
Okay.
Super nervous, man. And finally, on the final day, the professor was like, all right, dude, you got to do it. And it was actually a presentation on breakdancing.
Oh.
And it was about like the influence and culture of breakdance.
Yeah.
So I did the presentation and nailed it. Nailed it. And it was just like me kicking fear in the face and giving this amazing presentation. And that was really the moment when the professor came to me after the presentation and said, hey, Ozeal, he says, I need to pull you aside and talk to you. And I said, okay. And he says, you have a gift and you need to share that with the world. And that gave me just this boost of confidence. And from there, I was like, all right, forget college. I need to do this speaking. I need to do this performance thing. And that's essentially what kind of like evolved into me being a musician and performing for actually over a decade. Yeah.
Wow.
The stories about the teachers, the educators, and people's lives that we have heard on this podcast. Like, my goodness, we know that we can say that we know that educators are a big part of our lives and teachers, but man, we have heard it firsthand over and over and over how much they have influenced every one of us, through their lives. It's a big deal. Like, we've heard so many stories like yours. The one teacher who spoke that word, a little bit of encouragement, helped them see what they couldn't see, helped them that little bitty thing that turned them in, boosted them into something like that. So big deal, man. I love that.
Mentorship is super important. And I keep that in mind whenever I'm now doing with the creator community here in Houston, is being that extra step for someone else's rhythm. Somebody may need that word of encouragement and they may need that support. And I know how that influenced and that really inspired and motivated me to pursue this. So I know there's a lot of creators that struggle with the imposter syndrome. I mean, we all do, right?
Sure.
Even now at the stage, but it's important for us to make sure that we're connected, that we're supporting each other, and then we share those words of encourage because it really does help us out as creatives. Yeah.
Wow.
Especially when it's really genuine. Yeah. When you've got that relationship where you have that authority in somebody's life and you speak a genuine word in due season, just the harvest that comes from it is immense, and I think we can get into, especially in this industry, because one of two ways. Somebody's just overly complimentary and you're like, what are we doing? Or not, and just rude. But that genuine, like, man, I really see something in you. That's great. Like, that's a really great thing. You moved us by that. That genuine word spoke to somebody, I truly believe can change a trajectory in somebody's life.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt.
Like your professor was in yours almost, It was like, okay, dropped out of school, started singing. All right, so let's go to you singing. Okay, are we singing? Instruments we play? What What all is this
about? So singing, rapping. We had like this whole kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Wait, you rap too?
Yeah, rap.
Of course you do, because you break dance. You can't break dance.
That was part of the culture. Like that was kind of the thing that we did after that.
That's right. I was like,
rappers.
That's right.
So I was kind of rap. We had this kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers blend with the Roots,
cool.
Machine kind of vibe. Yeah, it was alternative hip hop is what we called it.
Okay.
Fusion. So so I was rapping and singing. I was writing my own songs, and I got really involved in creative writing and songwriting, poetry. And I just enjoyed it. It was just a way for me to just kind of express myself. And a lot of the things that I was facing, like just being introverted and dealing with my confidence, it was very inspirational. So I would try to write raps and songs that were to uplift people and bring some positivity into the community.
Cool.
Yeah. That's really good.
Super cool.
Okay. Tough, deep question.
Oh, let's get it.
Okay. Being an introvert, being insecure to step out, be in front of the crowd, you get the taste of it, you do well at it. How much did you struggle with that identity being wrapped up in you becoming this person that sings and performs? So that performance spirit, how much did that become like where everything hung on that, and then you were like, maybe my identity, did your identity ever become that? Or did you just stay grounded in the fact that I'm not identified as a singer, I am Ozeal that has these gifts?
It took me a while. I remember like after I transitioned out of the music life, which was over a decade, it took me a while for me to redefine who I was as a creative. Music was all I knew. Everybody knew me as a performer on stage, as a band leader. So it took me some time to kind of unravel. And it was definitely like a phase in my personal development to kind of get back into like, okay, you're going to try something completely new, which was entrepreneurship, which was me labeling and going towards a creative entrepreneur route, and learning a whole new level of skill sets. And there was also all these insecurities that were reemerging, and this imposter syndrome and the confidence. I had to relearn how to regain the confidence I had as a musician. So it took me some time. Yeah, that was a big.
And Ozeal is one that I would call a genuine creative. I mean, there's people who have a really good skill set at, if you were in school and maybe you're more intellectual, but you took band class and you got good at the clarinet. But it doesn't transfer into a lot of things. A creative is a creative no matter where you put them and what they're doing. And that's, that's what I see in you, whether it was b-boy, whether it was singing, whether it was pop, whatever it is, you're going to create. You're going to find that thing there, if I'm right. I mean, is that what I hear?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Wow. Wow. And I love that. And there's nothing wrong with the other, just learning a good skill in something.
Sure.
But of course, in our set life and what we do, I love running into the creators that can take, I mean, you get into business and start getting creative with math. I mean, not in a way that doesn't send you to jail, but I mean, you get creative, with how you don't let the bank tell you no, or you don't let this tell you. You get creative at figuring things out. I've seen it transfer into a lot of different aspects of life, not just paintbrushes and musical equipment, so forth. So I appreciate having a creator around and hearing creator stories. Yeah. I love it. It's ingenuitive. It's constantly pushing boundaries and not putting any limitations. I love create because you're creating something out of nothing. You're figuring a way to create. That's right. We all start with very little, typically, we start with whatever we have, and then to learn how to, I think in some ways, as you go on, you get more paintbrushes. And in some ways that can start becoming a hindrance or what do you call it? Like a crutch for you, instead of like what you had at the very beginning, which is not much, that forced you to be really ingenuitive. Like how that, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Yeah. So there's something there that's so special that I think is uber important, not to go down this trail, but it's super important to not lose as we get more paintbrushes or maybe more finances or more opportunities, to keep that thing we had at the beginning that kept it so raw and us thinking outside the boxes, because it's just easy to get lazy. Right. Yep. With more opportunity, more money, more opportunity, whatever it is. So, but anyway, there's that.
Yeah, we'll say.
So you redefined, the reason asking that question was I think that's a lot of us in this industry. Your heart longs to sing and perform and entertain, and you love it so much, but then you start identifying as that and lose sight of who you really are, and that's just your job that you do, because it gives so much back to you. Then if that's ever taken away, you're like left with like, what am I now? You know, and that's when you have to start asking yourself the hard questions of like, what does that transition look like? And then go, oh, okay, so I have these talents and I have these talents, and none of them define me. I am these core characteristic traits, and I'm going to use those everywhere I go, or no matter what career I've got. And that's what I've seen from you going from this career to now you're going to entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship led to what?
Podcasting and building communities, and what I'm doing now to serve the creator community. And it's interesting that, to your point, Amber, is that even I look back now, you know, and I look at all the skill sets that I developed from, you know, public speaking to just becoming a better communicator and performance, and bringing that into the space as a consultant, as a coach, but also as a podcaster, as a creator, of helping other creators become better at articulating their message, becoming better communicators, but also the performance element, which, you know, what we're doing now with podcasting, I think that's the thing that really excites me, is this is our stage.
Yep.
People watching and listening, that's our audience.
Yep.
And this is what we're doing as a performance. And I'm just so excited about where, even like with where you're at with this podcast and other creators that are creating content, is just this idea of being vulnerable, being authentic. Like, this is a great service to people in the film industry and people in the film, you know, entertainment industry, because this is helping people, you know, be heard, be understood, and feel supported. When I was listening and watching your videos, I was like, yes. And there's so much commonality. I'm like, yes, like I get it. Like, they get me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of podcasting. So that's what I'm doing now, is just helping creators, you know, amplify their message and share that with the world. And that brings me great joy.
Yeah, that's so great. Thanks for saying that. That was the heart behind us creating this, was to inspire and hope that people could relate with the stories, could relate with what we're saying and identify with it. And then hopefully that encourages them to take the next step of whatever that is in their industry. Like if they're wanting to sing, if they're wanting to act, if they're wanting to be a director, they're wanting to be a cinematographer, they're just wanting to be in the industry. We hope that it inspires them to be like, okay, I can do this. Like, I'm going to go start here. I'm going to do the next step I need to try to further my goals of what I want to do or where I want to be, you know, in it. So thank you for that. That's encouraging. But what I love about what you said is, one, that you want to create a community for voices to be heard, and that you feel that you were heard and that other people are getting heard on this. That, in my opinion, debunks a theory to me that I think a lot of people that don't start podcasts, don't write books, don't do things, is they're like, what do I have to offer? Or what does it really matter? Well, there's somebody else out there like you that can relate to your experiences. And for that one person, it matters a lot. It matters a lot. You know, at our event that we had here, you know, we talked about people's podcast and things like that. And one of the girls had turned her show off. She thought it was not, you know, she stopped doing one show because she was going to start doing something else. And she said her audience just went crazy. Like, we listen to you every morning. Like, you can't just leave us like that. Oh. You know? And she's like, I didn't even think anybody was listening to me because I didn't have that many followers. But it mattered to somebody. You know, and she was like, I looked at it so differently after that.
And I think part of the problem is just people have this ego about, you know, wanting these downloads and listeners and subs. And that's why I said it's your message over metrics. Like, focus on your message.
Yeah.
Dial that in, build a community. If there's 5 downloads, 10 downloads, be grateful for that. Never take any listener or anybody watching a video for granted, because these are people that are taking their time to watch your content. Yep. So I think that we need to be more respectful for our audience and really understand that's, you know, they're giving us our time. their time, excuse me. And then also just knowing that it's just a process. And there are people, just one person that's being transformed. That's a win for me.
Yeah.
And I remember that even back when I was performing for 5 people, we would promote and 5 people showed up. And it was just like, I remember having that mindset of like, you show up. I remember bandmates saying like, dude, I don't know. And you can tell like their whole mood, energy changes.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's get it together.
Right.
These are 5 people that purchase tickets. Right. Let's give them an amazing show. And that's something that always I keep in mind, and I translate that to what we're doing now.
Well, it's easy to like penalize the people who showed up. Like, no, they showed up. Right. No, they're listening. Don't penalize them with your low energy or giving your half, performance. There's a lot to be said for that. That's well said too.
Love that. And I think if they say too in communicating, you're doing that message to one person, like write whatever you're going to write or do whatever you do for that one listener. And then that transcends multiple listeners, so if you can't be responsible with the one listener, how are you going to get to the millions of listeners?
Totally.
Yeah.
Kind of thing,
That's good.
And I think that's speaking to that performance spirit again, where if you're like just doing it to perform for you, then that also translates versus I genuinely want to sit here because I care and I want to do this for the audience and have that respect and angle of, this is something that, I feel like I'm supposed to do. And yes, I enjoy it because I'm getting to use my gift of communication, which is good, but it should always be a two-way street. That's where things work. It can't just be one side always wins. Like if you're doing it just for you and you're like, just makes me happy.
Right.
Like everybody's going to know that.
Right.
In the way you communicate versus having a humble heart.
How about I know you could speak to this, podcasting means so much of your world, but how about the voice that it's given to so many people?
Yeah.
Podcasting with such a low barrier to entry. Yeah. It's not like you have to have a whole studio. We're talking low-cost barrier to entry nowadays to really do something to start. Yeah. It's given people a lot of voice who had a lot to say, maybe no platform. That's changed. Yeah. Then for them to be able to do that kind of thing, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah. To have all this stuff that maybe you just used to journal. Maybe it just used to be in the journal. Maybe it just used to be in all the songs I'm writing in my room. Not anymore. You don't have to wait for somebody to hire you. You don't have to wait for the agent. You don't have to wait for you can do it. Yeah. You can be your own, you have your own platform now.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because one thing that I did not mention during all my creative pursuits in my teens, I remember watching MTV. MTV Raps and watching this, and I was like,
when they still had music videos.
Back when it was music videos, back in the day.
That was
good old days.
That was a thing.
Yeah, so much fun, right? I used to record them, and
I got in trouble for watching that.
For watching
that off when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm like, hurry. Yeah.
So I wanted to be a MTV VJ. I saw the conversations, and I was always curious about having conversations with really interesting, fascinating people early on. And, people went to broadcasting school to podcast, to get on radio and to be on, traditional media. But now my first podcast was called No Permission Needed. And it was a declaration to creatives and myself to say, we don't need to wait for the green light anymore. We give ourselves permission to get a microphone, get a laptop and a hosting service and start podcasting and getting your message out there. Yep. So now it's like, forget the traditional media. Now we can speak. We can talk about the film industry through our own lens. We can talk about what's happening for creative entrepreneurs or for mom entrepreneurs and all these micro niches that are now emerging in these communities. And I think it's such a beautiful way as a collective to use podcasting and video to be able to share a message and build community through that. So I think it's a great time. And I remember seeing that. I'm like, now I'm an MTV VJ, man. I'm doing that. That's right. I don't have to, wait for MTV. But now we're doing it. So we're in a beautiful time. This is a great time to be a creative. Because now we have all the tools we need to succeed and to be able to build community and do the things that matter to us. So it's fun.
Love it.
And it gives us the ability to go into people's, I would say homes, but not really. We're in their homes, but we're on their iPads. We're on their iPads.
We're everywhere.
We're
everywhere.
We're everywhere. We're on all these devices that you can get media at, right? We're crossing barriers that we're never able to cross back in the MTV days, right? you had local TV, you had your local cable, you had all of that. You didn't have like Dish Network that was like you could watch things from all over. It was your local area, your local news, your local everything. So that fed you your ideals, you know, other than the TV shows that you saw in Hollywood and what those ideals became, right? This broadens that across all barriers, which is so my heart, right? To be able to sit in every culture with every kind of person and have the conversations, inspire, maybe be something that one culture hasn't seen, introduce it over here so that they see it's a possibility to offer something good over here that they hadn't seen. You know what I mean? Like you can cross-collaborate across everybody's audiences, speak into different audiences that you normally would have no voice in, right? Now you can cross-collaborate. And now you're speaking into an audience and giving hope there and positivity and goodness and all of that. I mean, if you really think about it, it's super cool that we have that ability to do that. Why not take advantage of it?
Absolutely.
Amen.
You know,
absolutely.
Why not take advantage of saying something that's good in this world and help encourage, you know, the differences of this world?
100%.
It's interesting to see even mainstream media now coming into our territory. Like now you see people who are celebrities and all the NPRs. And I remember seeing that early on. I was like, we gotta, as indie podcasters, as creatives, so we gotta make sure that we continue to level up, which is the reason why I have a lot of respect for what you guys are doing, because you're very dedicated to excellence and creating great quality content. And I think that's where we're gonna go next, where even as indie creators, we gotta also level up, because we got the pros are here. The pros are creating quality content. So we gotta show them. We don't have to show them, but we gotta make sure that we compete and we let them know that, yes, this is our space, but we can also play with you. We can also get in the same sandbox and provide high quality level content and still keep it real with the content that we're trying to deliver. So it's really exciting to see that.
Yep. It just raises the bar,
right?
You know, and then those that can reach it or try to reach it will try and get there. And then those that can't will stay where they are. And there's a siphoning in all industries and all things of that happening, you know, and you see it in organizations all the time. You know, when new leadership comes in or a higher bar comes into something, you find out real fast who's going to be able to handle the pressure, raise their own bar, come up, and then those that are going to kick and fight and scream and I'm not going to do that. And it just kind of works itself out. It's over time. You know, podcasting is I tell people, is a marathon. It is not a short sprint game. It's, okay, to get traction in this industry is 18, 24 months. You know, I mean, it's a bit. It takes a bit to get real traction in the podcast world. So it's got to come from a real, genuine, honest place to do something that consistent, that long, and maybe get traction, maybe not.
Right.
But to give yourself a fair chance, I encourage people like, hey, if you want to do a podcast, do one, but do it at a maintainable level that you can do it for at least 18 to 24 months.
That's right.
So whatever that is for your level, do that to the best of your ability that you can maintain that long. Don't come in sprint and spend your whole budget on what you can maintain that.
Right.
And you're not going to get traction of that for a little bit of time. Like you're going to have to, so knowing that bandwidth of podcasting, I think has been a learning curve in the beginning when there wasn't as much competition and there wasn't, but like you said, it's a whole nother ball game now.
It's a whole different ball game.
Yep, there's a lot of people here.
Let me ask you guys this. What are your thoughts? What have you discovered about yourself since starting this podcast? Kelly?
Wow. Oh gosh. I mean, I can have a term I use a lot in my life in our teams and different things that we have going on, and to get in the fight. I'm always telling people, just get in the fight. You just got to get in the fight. Well, I just get in the fight. But just get in the fight. Well, just get in the fight. And it's just, my point with that is you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't even have to know how to fight. You just got to get in the fight. You will learn how to fight if you're put in the position. You're just going to learn how to do it. it's, it's maybe it's survival, whatever. You're going to learn how to do it. So I just didn't, I think that, the podcasting for us was, new. This was a new, this set life and whatnot when we first were getting started. And so for me, it was great to just get in the fight and you work out the kinks as you go. You start to find your voice. You find, is this shot well? Yeah, I believe we're doing it. This shot well. We're just going to make it better and better. But I've also discovered how, we were talking about audiences and being genuine, and we are very genuine and casual here and all that. But that is way more important than it being overly produced. People think, I just got to have this. I got to have it all produced, and this has got to be no. Just get in the fight. Your voice and your honesty and who you are and your content, your subject matter is way more important. People, in fact, and people even shy away sometimes from something that's overproduced because they want something genuine. Right. They need those. There's so much overproduced stuff out there. They need to see those pattern interrupts of somebody holding their phone up and just talking. You're like, oh, this guy's really just talking to me now. Yeah. Right. They love that, that stuff. And so, I don't know. I'd say that I'm somewhere in there of learning how to get in the fight and just how much we have learned by reason of use, by using what we have, by getting our hands on stuff and handling it, I think is probably what I've learned.
Yeah, and I think everybody, it's the beauty of the world, uniqueness. Everybody is unique. Everybody has a different message and a different way of delivering it. I could talk about the industry in one way, you're going to talk about it another, you're going to talk about another. The fact that we are a studio, hence the fact that we are produced, right? So for us, this makes sense. We provide this space, we provide this equipment, we provide these services, this is who we are, now, minus us being authentic and genuine and real.
Right.
Okay. And even though you have all the fancy whatever, so to speak, of this highly produced, we're just like everyone else. I mean, our first time we got on set gives me chills. Oh, because this is our last taping of this entire year is today. Right. And I remember the first time we were here with the crew and we're like, all right, okay, everybody just get in a seat. We're going to try this. What are we going to talk about again? What are we doing again? It was like, who are we talking? Okay, you know what? Let's just have a conversation. Yeah. Let's just be us. Yes. And the birth of the show was like, we had so many great people in here. And we had great conversations just like before the show started. And we're out there doing push-ups and energy shots and laughing hysterically and, having great conversations at the same time of like, hey, I'm going to create an event for next year that's going to be, a one-of-a-kind podcast, large event, and all this kind of stuff. Business, right? Then we talk business, and we talk entrepreneurship, and we talk dreams and lives and goals. We're doing all that. And it was like, hey, our industry needs to hear this. Because I have felt so honored and humbled to sit on the show when you say, what have I learned with all the creators that Houston has to offer? And how it's just been a joy to have everybody in here sitting with us, laughing with us, learning about them, learning their stories, encouraging them, helping connect dots for people. Yeah. We're like, hey, you know him? Oh, you should know her. You should do this, and that's what we do here. We refer people to other people. I mean, we're all about sharing and communicating and community and all that. That's what this has fostered for us here. And I've loved every second of that in this show. And next year we're going to shoot a little bit different. We're going to keep up in the bar with what we can and what our abilities are. We're restructuring some things. Our team's excited about that, but I think that's evolving with time. Yeah. So whether you're a studio and have the ability that we are, you're a big corporation and have the ability to do it to this level, or you're somebody at home that just has got the mic and set it up, really make sure your sound goes to the next level. Mm-hmm. Level up. Level up where you are looks different for everybody. Sure. And your unique audience and your story, and you're right. Just like some people don't want to tune into something that's overproduced. They need that, just a person with a mic just talking and they're listening with nothing else. They don't want to know anything else. They don't want to know what you look like. That's going to ruin it for them. Right. The whole thing. I mean, there's all these things that go into it. But I think even in that, level up.
Yeah.
Does that mean you add an intro and outro? Does that mean you add better sound? Does that mean you eventually add a camera? And if it does, how? And, so it's just really encouraging others to I encourage people to just push the envelope a little bit, get consistently good at something, and then go, how can I just push it a little bit more?
I always say there's always 3 levels to this creative phase. Is in the beginning, get going.
Yep.
Get good, then become great.
That's great.
And I think those are the 3 phases. And I think it's get going, get in the fight, get in the mix.
Yep.
And then just get good, but develop and cultivate that taste where what high production value looks and sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just being aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is season 1, which by the way, congratulations.
Thanks.
And then going on, what can we do different? And I think a lot of creators, I've noticed, even when I coach, they get complacent. And I've been there. I was there in the music industry as well, where you get complacent. But it's important for you to continue pushing the envelope and cultivate, how can I make this better?
Yep.
How can I become a better songwriter? Yep. How can I perform better? How can I be more engaging with the crowd? So many elements that we can do and make sure that we do this as creatives, and as whether you're a podcaster or a YouTuber, cultivating taste, knowing that, okay, I may not have that here, but I want to get there. Yeah. And then having that roadmap to get there. I think it's super important to be aware.
You ever stop creating, I think you start going backwards.
That's right.
So if you're not pushing the envelope to create, you're not actually staying the same. You're going backwards. And that's where I say with this, it's like, okay, we came in crazy, like we don't even know what we're doing, but we're going to try it. And believe it or not, some of our first episodes were literally the first things we shot. And it was like, we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. This is it. We're putting it out. We're calling it a day. It is what it is. And then we're going to keep, even if you've got co-host, it's the cadence between the 2 of us on how we work, how we communicate together. And you throw in all the guests. We've had guests from all walks of life in all different ways. How does that flow begin to work? It wasn't until, gosh, I don't even know what episode. And we were kind of like, okay, this is getting easier. Right. This is getting easier,
right.
And then it turns to, we are looking forward to this, and then it's fun and we laugh the whole time and it's, works. So but you can't ever, one of our other guests said he was a professor at a college and he's like, oh man, I produced this thing over here and it's terrible. It's terrible. He's like, I've had to resurrect that thing and nobody should see it. But I go and speak at colleges and I say, this is the first thing I did. This is what I'm doing now. This is my current reel now. This reel would not exist if this did not exist.
That's a fact.
So if you don't ever do this little ugly thing here, you'll never get to this up here. Mm-hmm. That was us. Yeah. That was us getting in the fight. That was us starting and just being like, okay, maybe kind of ugly, but we're going to try. What can we nail?
Because you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start.
Yes.
To be great.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's, kind of the MO of how we all have to start. It's just what it is. You got to get over yourself. Yeah. You're never actually going to be really great.
And that's it, right? Perfection is a lie. It doesn't exist. And I think a lot of creatives, if you really start thinking about it, it's really rooted in really self-development. I do feel like personal development has a lot in just building a confidence as a creative, because if you think about just creative people, we're afraid to be judged. Yep. And I think, we're afraid to, what is she going to think? What is he going to think? But once you let go of that, let go of the ego, and say, I'm here to serve. Yeah. I'm here because I have a message. And I'm going to show up for that one person, and that is it. Yeah. If you show up consistently, that changes the game. And now you just let go of everything. And then just forget about that. You just do you. Mm-hmm. You just focus on serving your people. And I think that's what kind of has shifted my mindset. Even when it comes to social media, I struggle with that. Yeah. It's a tug of war because I'm like, man, this isn't great. I'm seeing my peers. After I was like, okay, Ozeal, who are you showing up for? Mm-hmm. Because maybe that one person needs your medicine today. Yeah. Show up for that one person. Yeah. And I always remind myself the importance of that. And that's why I always tell creatives, get in the game, get in the fight.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. Amen, amen, amen. Okay. Wow. Last. We could spin off on that all day, but one last thing. What's next, and how do we get in touch with you?
What's next? Ooh, the question. So I'm going to do something very bold, and scary next year.
Yay.
In 2024.
Yay.
Is I've been hosting meetups for over a decade now for creatives, for musicians, but I'm going to do our first podcast conference here in Houston. It's going to be a market style.
Yeah.
So you hear it first.
Yeah.
In October is the date. So we'll have more details on that. And podhouston.com is where you can get plugged into the podcasting community. Yep. And then we also have a Facebook group where you're a part of, and Cameron and the team. Yep. So we're going to be doing more events leading up to that, and doing also a Texas mini tour to promote the event here in Houston. So that's really exciting. Kind of scary.
Yes.
Because I've always been like, but it's time to level up.
It's good.
It is.
And take it to the next level. Yep. And I've been doing meetups. I'm like, I want to serve more people, and I want to do this on a bigger scale.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my contribution next year.
Super cool.
Super
really
great.
Excited about that.
Super great.
Love it.
And then we'll be seeing each other at PodFest.
That's right.
Coming up in January, I believe.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Kromotis.
Yep. He was great when he was here with us.
Such a great event.
Such a great event.
Till this day, everybody's like, when is the next event? For the one, I'm like, well, that was kind of like a one event. That was a special event. But hey, I know somebody there.
Yeah.
So
Let's
we may
talk
have to do
about
it again. But that
it was so great.
And I want to thank you for just always being so supportive for the creator community, and the fact that you said yes. Yeah. It was a busy week for you.
Yeah, it was.
And for you guys. And it was great to have this event here and make that happen. So I appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, it was fantastic. I loved all of it. And I think a lot of great information was shared, fostered a lot of community, inspired a lot of people. So you're doing great works.
Thank you.
I'm excited to support you even more next year, 2024. And we will keep up to date on all of that. If they want to know more, go follow Pod Houston, and also you on your personal account too.
Yeah, at Ozeal Creates is my personal account. That's where you can find me.
So, so tune in, stay involved with what all he has going on, and we'll be posting too about what he's got going on too, so you can follow us as well. But until then, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We've appreciated it so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Set Life.